With just 4 weeks until Christmas, this was not the message the Prime Minister wanted to deliver. 2 cases of the new Omicron variant detected in the UK, with worrying news about its transmission.
It does appear that Omicron spreads very rapidly and can be spread between people who are double vaccinated.
And so new measures are needed. Contacts of anyone who tests positive with Omicron will have to self-isolate for 10 days, regardless of whether they're vaccinated. Face masks will return in England in shops and on public transport, and an expanded booster programme.
The Health Secretary has asked the JCVI, the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, to consider giving boosters to as wide a group as possible, as well as reducing the gap between your second dose and your booster.
All arrivals from abroad now need a PCR test on day 2 and must isolate until they get a negative result. The UK has already clamped down on travel, specifically in southern Africa, where the variant was first detected. On Friday, South Africa, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Lesotho and Eswatini were placed on the red list. From 4 a.m. tomorrow, arrivals from Angola, Mozambique, Malawi and Zambia will also have to quarantine in a hotel for 10 days. Until now, this has been the COVID winter plan of the government. Keep vaccinating and carry on. People in Hertfordshire queuing in the cold rain, with officials here saying plenty are coming forward.
I think it's a whole combination as to why there's an uptake. I think people are aware of more people getting COVID, unfortunately. They're hearing stories of what's happening in other countries, as well as obviously we've opened up now to boosters and obviously second doses for 16 and 17-year-olds. It's a whole combination, I think, is why people are coming forward.
There's news of a new variant. We still don't know much about it. I mean, how concerned are both of you about that?
I'm not overly concerned because I know that it mutates all the time, so there'll be another new variant along in a couple of months too, so having the vaccine will hopefully help this, you know.
Have you heard about the new variant?
Yeah, I've seen a bit of it on the news.
And are you worried about it at all, or...?
Potentially. I think it depends to see what happens next, and you've just got to wait and see. As like with even the Delta variant and stuff like that, we've not known what's going to happen, so it's just time will tell, I suppose.
But does this feel a bit like deja vu? Last year, when the first vaccine doses were rolled out, the Kent variant came along and it cancelled Christmas. A year on, millions of doses have offered us a huge amount of protection. But could more restrictions still be needed?
We've also identified a new variant of this virus.
December the 14th, 2020 was when the then Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, announced a new variant, and we began our march towards a third lockdown. Learning from then and the slow response to Delta, the government hopes it's now on top of things. As the tree at Parliament was delivered this afternoon, will this year be like the Christmases of past? Or is it beginning to look a lot like Christmas last?
Our Home Affairs correspondent Darshana Soni is in Nottingham now, where one of the 2 Omicron cases was discovered. Darshana, what's the latest there?
Well, although the Prime Minister's press conference saw a very measured message, as you can imagine, news that a strain has been identified here is causing concern locally. This evening, one household here in this city is in isolation. We understand that a family member recently came back from South Africa and has tested positive, and overnight the new strain was confirmed. This household is linked to the household in Essex. What's interesting is that public health officials say that everybody they've come into contact with will be traced and tested. You'll remember that when this virus first came to this country, it seems so long ago now, but in those early days, every new case that was identified here, exactly the same thing happened. Public health officials would trace their contacts and tell them to isolate and to get tested. It seems we're going back to that now as a way of containing this new virus. But there are concerns about that. I've spoken to a number of GPs in the city this evening. A couple said to me that they've had no notification of this from public health officials, probably because it's the weekend. They said that they've learned more from the media and from Twitter, but they expect they'll be notified on Monday. But one GP said to me that, like with many cities, there have been problems here with test and trace. He hasn't got a lot of confidence in that. But also the PCR tests will be relying on people who show symptoms to isolate and to take PCR tests. And a number of GPs have said to me that recently they've seen some complacency with people now relying on lateral flow tests and not bothering to go and get PCR tests. So they'll be relying on public health officials to help them step up that message once again.